Hi, everyone. I'm Sunny.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Rox. And this is
Literature on the Rocks.
Hey. Oh, hi, everyone. Welcome
Ew.
to our party,
We just started.
our book party.
Ew. I wanted to ask, the way you consume a book, how has that changed since becoming a parent?
It has.
Because I know mine has changed drastically.
Mine has changed. My favorite way is listening to a book. I can blow through them way faster, even though people are like, "Oh, it doesn't count." Yes, it does. Still consuming a story.
Exactly.
I'm still using my imagination to consume it.
Yeah. Actually, truly, my most favorite way is to listen to the book and also have an e-reader, like Kindle and Audible. They sync together so I can listen to it. And if I have my Kindle open, it'll also highlight the words as it reads. I really like that because I also like to look at words. But definitely as a parent who has a lot to do, listening to a book is nice because I can listen to a book and clean the house and make dinner and do
them
all
to
the things.
sleep.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's definitely nice. I might be aging myself here, but were audiobooks a big thing when we were younger?
I don't know.
They weren't accessible.
My mom used to get them, but you would have to buy a CD.
A CD?
Yeah, that
Man,
was
we're
the
old.
audiobook.
Stop it.
Because my mom used to get them because she would drive long distances
You had
for
to
work.
put it in your CD player?
In the car,
Yeah. Wow.
Or if you were cool, you had one of those 6-disc ones in your car.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
flip them. Yeah, so my mom used to do books.
And then it's like,
Or book on tape is what it used to
Okay,
be called
wait a
before it was
second.
audiobook.
According to Google, the AI overview, you know how it does that now?
oh, yeah.
The first audiobook was created in 1932
What?
by the American Foundation for the Blind.
What was it?
The blind have been getting in audiobooks. Yeah, go tell a blind man that's not reading.
Seriously.
That's what I'm saying, seriously.
You know what? Mic drop. That was it. That was,
I never
To
thought
all
of that
you-
argument, but that is a valid argument.
yeah. But like you
because I
said, your
doubt.
mom was listening to books on her way to
Yeah.
drive long distances and stuff. So, which again, I do remember listening to those tapes.
Books on tape when
Yeah,
we were
with
little,
the
the kids'
chimes
books.
and all that. Yeah.
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 When I was younger, before children, very staunch about having a physical copy of a book and reading that way. And I didn't like e-readers. And boy, have I graduated.
I guess when I was in high school and stuff reading, it was physical books, but I don't even think I thought I'm going to go listen to a book. It just didn't ever cross my mind.
Well, I used to make notes in all of my books as I read.
All right. Well, this week we're deep diving Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Hit us with an author bio.
All right. So Andy is the mastermind behind The Martian and obviously Project Hail Mary. Did you guys ever watch The Martian?
No.
It was a really good movie.
I've watched Mars Attacks.
That is not the same. Vastly different movies and storylines. He is blending hard sci-fi with a side of humor and a dash of heart.
What is hard sci-fi?
This, Project Hail Mary.
Oh.
What's soft sci-fi?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know. Before becoming a full-time
Rock
writer,
hard sci-fi.
here, I'm going to give you hard science fiction is a subgenre of science fiction that prioritizes scientific accuracy and plausibility in its narratives and world building.
This was a rock hard
Rock hard sci-fi.
I felt it.
Before becoming a full-time writer, Andy had a long career as a software engineer. It was the success of The Martian that enabled him to pursue writing full-time. He even created a custom app called Orbits to calculate the flight trajectories and communication delays for the book, The Martian, ensuring the technical details were as accurate as possible. So Weir's deep knowledge of science comes from his personal passion rather than formal education. He studied subjects like relativistic physics, orbital mechanics, and the history of manned spaceflight out of pure curiosity, not academic requirement. His work is so scientifically precise that NASA has embraced him as an unofficial spokesperson, using
hell?
his novels to help engage the public in the future of space exploration.
Wow.
When he's not writing stories that keep you on the edge of your seat or questioning your intelligence, like in my case, Andy is an expert cocktail maker, adding a personal touch to his downtime.
Now we need to interview him.
Yes.
Ooh, maybe he could whip some up for us.
Yeah.
Right? Something that's
I hope he
Project Hail
likes the
Mary
cocktail
inspired.
we have.
Yeah. So, Andy, if you're ever in the mood for a drink, come join us. We'll move on to the no spoilers summary. Project Hail Mary is where survival, space, and science collide in a thrilling journey that's just as mind-bending as it is heartwarming. Ryland Grace wakes up alone in space with no memory of who he is, why he's there, or how to save the world. As he uncovers the mystery behind his mission, he discovers that a fate of humanity lies on his shoulders. With a perfect mix of Weir's classic smart science and a dash of dark humor, this story proves that even in the cold vacuum of space, unexpected friendships and sheer grit can change the course of history. So buckle up, because this one's a roller coaster of emotions with a few old-fashioned twists. Get it? Get it? Because I like old fashions.
That was good. What's debatable is the roller coaster of emotion, but we'll get there.
I was on a roller coaster this whole time.
Oh, I
don't know if I would call it a roller coaster of emotions. That's not how I would explain it.
Wow. Let's get into it.
I can't wait to hear what emotions it drew from you. Considering that we have both cried and yelled at
I
books.
did cry in this book, but
I didn't
see where.
But I did cry.
Yeah,
I
could
did
see.
tear up. Besides that,
I think I laughed more than anything.
yeah,
I did laugh.
I thought it was very humorous.
Yes, I did. Okay, so our cocktail. So basically what we told old Cliffy Boy, which if you were...
Quillerton.
Yeah, Cliff Quillerton the third.
Our virtual assistant.
We basically said we need a cocktail to pair with Project Hail Mary. We wanted it to be space themed and have that sci-fi feel, maybe like a layered cocktail or some sort of spacey colors. And it was a fun book to read. Cliffy wrote, "Oh, Project Hail Mary deserves a cocktail that's out of this world, literally." I'm not going to do that the whole time. Okay. We're talking alien allies, astrophage fueled science, and that signature Andy Weir blend of chaos and charm. So let's match that energy with a drink that looks like it crash landed from a galaxy far, far away. We're calling this cocktail the Tau Ceti Sunrise. What it is, a layered, glowing interstellar cocktail with cosmic vibes and a citrusy punch, featuring ingredients that play nice with black light, which we didn't have, but it has tonic water on it, so it can glow. And gradients that'll impress even Rocky. Ingredients include 1 ounce of blue curacao, 1 ounce vodka or space-approved moonshine if you're feeling adventurous, 1 ounce coconut rum, a 1/2 ounce lime juice, a 1/2 ounce simple syrup, 2 ounce tonic water for that sci-fi glow under a black light, splash of grenadine, ice, and then we rimmed the glass with black bluey sugar. Instructions are, you're gonna layer. So in a shaker, you combine the vodka, coconut rum, lime juice, and simple syrup and shake it like you're trying to escape Tau Ceti. Fill a tall glass with ice. Pour the blue curacao first. It'll sit pretty at the bottom. And then slowly pour the shaken mixture over the back of a spoon to layer it above the blue base. Top it with the tonic water and carefully drizzle a splash of grenadine for that galactic nebula swirl. We garnished it, like I said, with the sugar, and now we're going to try it. Cheers.
I don't want to. Cheers.
That's delightful.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's really good. Mine looks very spacey.
Yours
Yes.
very spacey.
Cocktail's delicious.
It's really good.
It's fruity. I like it.
All right, let's dive into this book summary of Project Hail Mary. It starts off where a man, we don't know who he is yet. He wakes up, a robotic voice is asking him, what's 2 + 2? And he can't move, he can't speak, and has no memory of who he is or where he is. He's kind of going in and out of consciousness. We realize the computer that's there is sedating him. He's got all kinds of tubes in him, including one in his peen.
Oh, his catheter.
He has a catheter.
Including one in his peen.
Which he does say it kind of like that. So I will say there's a lot of, first of all, there's a lot of science in this book that I don't think I'm personally going to be telling you about.
No, I'm not.
But he does walk you through a whole lot of that science. There is a lot of witty banter that's almost hard to capture in these summaries because you'd have to really hear the conversation, and we don't tell you, we're not reading conversations to you.
No.
So you miss a lot of that banter that we are probably not super going to get into. We might mention a couple highlights.
Can I just add really quick that, like you said, there is a lot of science, but I feel that the science, the way he explains it, is in a way where you sort of understand it to some extent, right?
Like
I'm not like a
it,
science
but it's boring as fuck.
Yeah, it's
it's tied to the story. It makes sense to the story.
No.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It makes sense to who he is. He's a scientist.
Yeah.
But I don't need to know the gravitation and all of the miniature experiments of his gravitation.
I think, or like, I'm okay with knowing the experiment. And there were some experiments where I was like, oh, that's interesting. But when he starts walking you through the math to figure out where...
Yeah, that part was unnecessary. unnecessary.
Like, I don't need to know that, 0.065. And the average of how many times I dropped this pencil, it took 0.34 seconds or whatever. Like,
definitely not on Earth.
yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think general idea of it is necessary and pertinent to the story.
Yeah.
But when you start getting into a lot of the details, I think that's where that hard sci-fi comes in.
Yeah.
And I was skimming over a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I had a hard time. I think this book took me longer to read than Nightingale.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's kind of in and out of consciousness. These computers are sedating him. Eventually, he wakes up, computers asking him his name. And he doesn't remember who he is, but when he doesn't give the right answer a certain amount of times, the arms kind of come to sedate him again, and he jumps out of bed, which pulls that catheter right out. He does notice that there are a couple other patients in the room with him. He thinks that maybe they have some sort of crazy disease and they're being quarantined, but he doesn't want to be sedated anymore. So he jumps out. He sees this thin little red line, and it pushes him into this memory. It's a short memory where he's at a diner. He's reading an email. He goes there. He loves breakfast, but he doesn't like to cook for himself. And so he goes to a diner, and he's reading an email from someone named Dr. Irene Petrova. And you kind of get the sense that he used to be into science, and he's trying to, like, he mentions, I thought I unsubscribed from this email since I left that life behind. But the email asking other fellow scientists is almost like a Reddit forum for science. And it's a strange infrared line stretching from the sun to Venus in a strange arc. Does anyone have any ideas of what this could be? Boom, he's back into the present. He decides he wants to try and take a look at his other fellow patients. And to give you the vibe of the book, when he realizes that the other patients that he's in the room with are dead, it's like, oh, I'm going to go and check and see how these two over here are doing. And they're dead, right? Like, it's just kind of got a little bit of wittiness to it. So he's back in the present. He's also naked this whole time. He tries to climb a ladder, and at the top of that ladder is a hatch. So he notices it. He's starting to climb up this ladder and he's weak. So he falls. He's trying to get up that hatch. And then he only makes it a couple steps. He falls. The arms catch him and put him back to bed, sedate him. And as he's kind of falling, drifting off back to sleep, he thinks, oh, that was kind of a weird fall. Then he wakes up again. He is a little bit more coherent. He gets up and climbs the ladder. And when he gets to the top, he opens the hatch, finding out that it's open. He's surprised. He opens it and he finds a fully stocked, like, state-of-the-art lab. He realizes that everything kind of looks familiar, but he still has no idea who he is. But he knows that this machine over here is used for this. And right, like, he's like, oh, maybe I'm into science. There's another ladder to another hatch. He tries to climb up it. He gets to the top and it's locked, and it won't open unless he remembers his name.
Oh, yeah.
And as he's starting to crawl down, he falls again, but the arms aren't there to catch him. So he falls really hard, and he's like, that shouldn't have hurt as much. Something is weird with gravity here. So he starts doing this test. And again, this is one of those moments where he's walking you through the test he's doing and it makes sense, but then he starts doing the math along with it, and you're like, now you've lost me. You're trying to see how much gravity is there. That's what I need to know. So he runs a test to test the gravity, and he realizes that gravity is at 1.5 times the amount that it should be, and it's not Earth. It flashes to another memory. He's with a friend talking about how the sun is dying. So he meets her. When he gets to dinner, she's like 3 whiskeys in, and he's like, what's the matter? And she's like, the president's going to come out and he's going to tell you this in a matter of hours. And they're talking about how there's that Petrova line, and they refer to it as the Petrova problem. The Petrova line, whatever's there, is causing energy to be drained from the sun. And so the sun is dying. The world is basically heading for an ice age, and no one knows how to stop it. No one knows how to fix it. He comes back to present and he realizes he is in space. This is all real. And he's pretty sure he's meant to fix this Petrova problem. He does remember that these people that are dead in the room with him are his friends and his crew. And he assumes that he was put into a medical induced coma to go this long distance in space. You kind of start to connect the dots with him, right? He's flashing back to the person he used to be, flashes back to another memory where he is watching a news broadcast. There's this space probe that was launched. It's like a year after they realized there's a Petrova problem. So they launched this thing into space to try and capture some of whatever the material is that the Petrova line is made out of. And on national TV, they find out that this thing is alive, or at least it's moving. We just need to get it back and start doing tests on it because it looks like it's alive. Did we just discover an alien life form?
Yeah.
And so then he comes back to his present, and he still doesn't remember who he is, but he is slowly starting to remember things. And one of the lines that literally, it did make me laugh, kind of going through this memory, like, I think I have kids. No, I don't have kids. I'm thinking about like, it's like, but I like kids. That's just a feeling, but I like them. They're cool. They're fun to hang out with. So I'm a single man in my 30s who lives alone in a small apartment. I don't have any kids, but I like kids a lot. I don't like where this is going. A teacher. I'm a school teacher. I remember it now. Oh, thank God I'm a teacher.
He was so nervous.
Yes.
Like, wait a second.
Like,
why do I
oh
like
my
kids?
God,
And
what is happening?
Am I a pedophile?
Yes, that's pretty
What
much my
a
note.
realization.
Like, what a roller coaster of emotions for him. Like, oh my God, I think I might be a pedophile. Oh no, I'm a teacher. I'm just a teacher.
Which would be such a weird dilemma to have, like to come to and realize like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm a pedophile, but I know it's wrong.
That would be disgusting.
Like-
He makes a comment because what's the point of even having a world if you're not going to pass it on to the next generation? I made a note, while I'm not a teacher, this definitely resonates with me as a mom. I've never cared so much about the world we live in until having a kid. I cared, but it's different once you have a kid. It's,
Yeah, you want to leave them a world that they want to be a part of.
yeah.
A
And
world to live in.
when bad things happen in the world, it really affects you in a different way.
Totally.
Right. Then he has another memory. Eva Strat, he like has this whole, which he obviously in his memories, he loves these kids that he's teaching and it shows the kids really like him. He's a middle school teacher, which is why you mentioned some of the ways that he describes things make sense. And I think that plays into the fact that because he's a middle school teacher, he's explaining things in a way
Yes.
that a middle schooler could understand.
Yeah.
When he gets into the nitty gritty details of some of the more complicated things, it's over my head. The way he's remembering and telling the students what's happening and how the sun is dying and what that means for them. And, he even makes a comment like, oh, in 30 years is when we're thinking this ice age is going to happen. The kids are like, 30 years? I have plenty of time. So in this memory, the bell has rung. After the class is dismissed, he kind of holds back because he doesn't want all the helicopter parents to come and bombard him with questions and things. And Eva Strat walks into his classroom. She basically tells him, I need you. He wrote this paper when he was in the science world that was about non-water-based life. She thinks that because from the Petrova line, they're getting this sample, and she thinks anything that can live that close to the sun potentially would not have water. She's intrigued by his paper, even though it's something that discredited him from the science world. So she's like, we want you to come and help us. And he kind of is like, no, I've left that world for a reason. He comes back to his apartment, and as he's walking back to his apartment, he's basically kidnapped by by some FBI or some sort of special
government.
forces, yes, and takes him away. Like he has no choice. So now he's in it. But in that memory, she calls him by his name, Rylan Grace. So he remembers his name. So when we get back to present, he's able to get up that ladder, tell the computer his name is Rylan Grace, and the door opens and he gets to go into the cockpit. So now he's learning everything he can about this ship. He's looking at all these computer screens because there's an overload of information in here. He doesn't even know where to begin. He's exploring more, and he's realizing based on some of these computer screens that he is going fast, which is why he's experiencing a heavier gravity, and that his spaceship is slowly decelerating, slowing down near his destination. He flashes back again where he's studying the Petrova material. He's basically locked in this quarantine area where it's just him, and Strat tells him, yeah, you're a guinea pig. We don't want anyone else to potentially get a disease from this, or if you
Yeah.
get it, like you're the one who's going to be tested. So
Or if it's going to kill you like
Yes.
instantly,
yes.
you're going to be the only one.
Yes. So he starts doing all these tests on these little black dots. They are moving. They are alive. And he basically is thinking, oh my gosh, what an opportunity. Would be huge. If the world wasn't dying, this would be a huge discovery in and of itself. But because the world is dying, we care more about what their life cycle is, what about them.
We need to know what
right?
it is and how
Like,
it operates.
cool. Now what?
Yeah.
Right? He realizes that it is somehow storing energy that it's collecting from the sun. And then it moves using that light. It is alive. And because it is something that is eating the sun and the energy, he names it Astrophage, which means star eater. He does some math in the ship and realizes that he's not in our solar system anymore. He sees that there is a sun on a screen, and in that, him doing that math, he's realizing this sun is moving too fast for the sun to be our sun. It's a different star. He doesn't realize it's Tau Ceti yet. He just knows that he's not even in his own galaxy. So he goes back to more memories. He's trying to at will bring them, which sometimes they hit him like a ton of bricks, but they do kind of start to slowly come back to him more fluidly. He is doing these tests on Astrophage, finds this micro needle, and he sticks a little needle in it, and there's goo inside that kind of comes out. And so he's like, I killed one. He's all excited. Strat's like, great for you. So you poked it with a stick. It took you 3 days to realize you needed needed to poke it with a stick. Like,
Also, her like matter-of-fact way of talking
Yes.
crap is so funny.
yes.
The amount of power that she has
Is crazy.
is insane.
Okay, you have to imagine though, this is a world-ending scenario.
No, I know.
And they were just like, okay, Sonny, you do whatever you have to do. I don't care if you kill somebody. I don't care if you
Yeah, you're forgiven of all
kidnap
sins.
You
Yeah.
are pardoned of all crimes.
She got in front of, what is it, the Geneva Convention.
Yes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
got herself pardoned from all of those countries.
Yes.
And has unlimited use of all of their countries.
All the
Like,
resources.
she is
She just
freaking
can go
powerful,
and
too.
take
She is in
whoever
charge
she
of the
wants.
earth.
Yeah.
Literally, like she is above the president. She is just
There is
the
no rules
main
to her land.
bitch.
Yes.
Yes.
In this
Which
world.
is a lot of pressure for one person too. Like every decision I make is going to dictate what happens to the whole entire world.
Which
Which
I
I-
think is why she does what she does.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I think it leads into the way that she is. My end goal is just saving humanity.
Right. Yes.
I can't even imagine the
No,
pressure.
that's too much. Too much pressure.
Yeah.
I pass.
No, thank you.
He's all excited. He killed one. She's like, good for you. He's going to test the goo that he found inside of it. He goes, he runs some tests, and it comes back that it is mostly water, which is the
Pisses
opposite.
him off so
Yes.
much.
He's like, of course. So basically, this non-water life form he thought he found, it's the exact opposite. He was wrong. He's so very wrong about all the things. He's very defeated. And Strat's kind of like, okay, well, thanks for your time. They go their separate ways. He is back in the spaceship. In the control center, he finds a map of the ship and realizes there's a whole storage unit underneath the cabin where he's sleeping. And so he goes, the computer opens, unseals it. As he's going through, right on top, he finds the uniforms. There's 3 of them, 1 for him and 2 for his other dead crewmates. He does end up putting the crewmates in them and does like a space burial. He doesn't exactly remember details about them, but it does make him cry because he knows that he has like
Like
there's
a
emotional
connection.
ties to them, but he doesn't know the stories and he kind of is keeping his mind from remembering them because it'll be too hard right now. And he has the whole weight of the world on his shoulders. He gets sent back again to a flashback where he ends up going back, begs Strat for more samples. She tells him, no, I've got to send it out to 30 different space.
And I only have so much of it.
Yeah, so everyone's only getting like 8 to 10 little dots. I don't have any to spare.
Yeah.
And so he ends up convincing her, just give me 3. She gives him 3 of them. That's all he gets. Coming back to for just a second, he finds these little pods. They're labeled beetles, and they are clearly meant to send information back to Earth. And he starts doing math and he realizes that this mission is a one-way trip. Back on Earth, and in a flashback, he figures out that Astrophage, they go to the sun for energy, and then they go to Venus, and he's doing all these tests. Like, why are you going to Venus? He figures out it's because of carbon dioxide. They need that to reproduce. He does this whole stage of like, okay, I'm going to pretend like this is the sun over here, and I'm going to create this like tube, and this is Venus over here. And he does it, and all of a sudden, like the 3 little guys, they just shoot and fly out everywhere. He loses all 3 of his astrophage. He's got to make these like goggles that are looking for IR light. He finds them, but then he finds a 4th one. He realizes he accidentally made at least one of them replicate, which is a huge discovery. As soon as he tells Strat whisks him off into jets.
Multiple jets
Yes.
and helicopter rides.
Yes. Nobody knows anything. I wasn't
No.
told where you're going. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, all
and
the
then he gets
pilots.
dropped off somewhere else. So there's this other pilot. I don't know what your destination is, right? And then eventually he gets to a Chinese aircraft carrier that's in the middle of the ocean. He walks in to see her, and she's at a table with a bunch of other people, and he has to basically tell them all his findings. Then he's sent away to sleep, and he sleeps for like 14 hours.
He had been awake for
Yes.
forever.
Yeah, he wasn't sleeping. He was just testing the
He was really into this
yeah,
science.
he was. He was so excited about it. The next day, he's woken up with Post-it on his head. Got to tell someone, like, take me to wherever this Post-it says. He gets taken to where Strat and a couple other people are, and he's told the full plan, the Hail Mary project. They break it down for him. Tau Ceti is a star that is the only star that's not being infected by these astrophage. Astrophage is almost like a virus. It infects all the stars around the one star that's infected. So they're sending a ship to find out why. Grace's job then becomes all you have to do as part of this mission is reproduce as much astrophage as possible because it's going to be used to fuel the spaceship to get to Tau Ceti. Because he's like, you can't get to another galaxy. We've never done this, right? And this guy's like,
Oh, the Russian guy.
Yeah.
Dmitri. Yes.
Dr. Grace, he's like, they're like best buds, but they're like all jazzed about how they're going to use the
Secret
astrophage.
spaceship
Yes.
that they have that could definitely hold the fuel.
Anyways, their relationship is kind of funny. And Grace even says like, I want to take you out for drinks. He's like, let's go.
Yeah. I like Dmitri.
He then remembers the coma decision because he's on the ship. He's trying to reproduce as much astrophage. Strat calls him in with this dilemma where she either has to put 3 people on a ship where they're going to lose their mind and kill each other because they're going to be trapped in this little area for 3 years, or there's this testing that's been done. The idea was we can put someone in a coma while they are going through chemo because it's just so hard on people's bodies that will put you in a coma and then bring you out of that coma once it's over so you don't have to kind of go through it. But the only people who could potentially wake up from that coma and be okay and not have like brain melting, people's bodies are not meant to be in a coma for however
Years.
long. Yeah. So you have to have this
Genetic
Yeah.
makeup. Like
it's
this
a
gene.
certain genetic marker.
Yes. So only 1 in like 7,000 or something like that has it. Grace is like, honestly, that's still 1 million people in this world.
Yeah.
You've got 1 million people to pull from to find that right person. And ultimately, he helps her solidify her decision to whoever's going is going to be put in an induced coma and sleep as long as it takes to get there. And then these medical arms that they also have to develop to do all of the medical things, clean them, take care of them, make sure their body's not
Rotate them so they don't get sores and whatever.
Yeah, make sure their body's not like
Degenerating.
Yes. So they have to develop that, but she does solidify her decision. That's what's going to happen.
He's like, yeah, 1 in 7,000. That's millions of people. And she's like, yeah, but they have to have the right intelligence, the right
Yes.
knowledge, the right skill set.
Yeah. I
So
either have to pick 3 people who have this G marker but don't have the know-how, don't have the
our
experience,
science
the
background.
science. Yeah.
So like the pool for this is very slim, whether you think it's millions or not.
Yes.
Like it's a very small set of people that
Yes.
we could pick from.
Yeah, exactly. He realizes then when we come back to present day that he's the only one who all 3 of those people had that genetic marker, but he was the only one who survived anyways. The ship eventually stops. He hits 0 gravity and like the buildup for it to hit 0 gravity, there's a ton of buildup. And then he gets it and he freaks the F out. He throws up, but he throws up in his uniform and it's a whole thing. And he talks about how it feels. It's disgusting. And then he eventually, his body and his mind, it's like this huge fear, like roller coasters. Eventually his mind settles and he feels a little bit more comfortable. It's still not great, but he's...
Yeah, it's like when you're in 0 gravity, your body feels like you're falling constantly. Like you have no sense of direction. So it feels like you're just free falling. So your brain has to adjust to remember that you're not free falling, right? And then sort of figure out the direction that you are, like what way is up, because you don't know which way is up in 0 gravity.
Yeah.
So
He goes back down. He changes out. He kind of gives himself a little bath. He gets back up to the command center and he's playing with all the new toys he's got. He sees a bright light. It's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And then it's gone. And he's like, that's weird. He starts looking at the cameras and adjusting. He sees the Petrova line, but he's like, wait, there's something blocking. Like all of a sudden the Petrova line just stops. So he adjusts the camera lens to not see the IR lights, but he's using just like standard light. And he realizes there's something blocking the camera. And what it is another ship. There's someone else on space with him.
oh my Lanta.
Ba, ba, ba.
And that's how
My
that
Chumpies ends.
Chumpy ends, right?
Yes.
So, Jumpy number 2, chapters 7 through 12. Grace names the alien spaceship Blip A. It's 3 times larger than his Hail Mary and is shaped like a many-faceted diamond. It's also astrophage powered, emitting a steady glow on the Petrovoscope. Grace flashes his engines as a signal, and Blip A signals back, confirming intelligent life on board.
Yeah, it's like huge. Like he's like, holy shit, I just talked to an alien.
Yeah, losing his mind.
Yes, he is losing it.
Blip A starts moving towards his ship.
Yeah.
And a hull-mounted robot tosses a cylinder towards the Hail Mary, and it takes 40 minutes to arrive.
Yeah, it's just
he
like
does all the
floating
math,
through
and he's
space.
like, okay, it's going to take you 40 minutes to land here. So he has to spacewalk to retrieve the object, and he wonders if the aliens are friendly, but is reassured by their careful approach to communication. Grace finds his EV feels natural, like he's had training. He's like, oh, I'm definitely an astronaut.
Yeah.
Like, I have been trained for this. This feels right. And the cylinder, he was able to catch it out of space. So the cylinder is molten tan, like the Blip A. It's the size of a coffee can, and it's burning hot. It also reeks of ammonia. So he lets it cool down in the airlock while he's trying to recall how to use all of his lab equipment. So then there's a flashback. Grace and Strat travel to Geneva, Switzerland, to meet Dr. Loken. Loken dislikes Grace due to his paper, and they argue about Astrophage's connection to Earth life. And then basically they walk in and she's like, oh, this loser. Strat wants to build a zero
Yeah,
gravity.
because he's like, because of this paper, he is truly just
Like dismissed
Like he's
in
a
the science
joke
world.
in the
he's
science
a joke
world.
in the science
Yeah.
world. But everyone, when Strat approaches him, she's like, yeah, if you had stuck with it, everyone talks about how you would have been leading this program if you had stuck with it. But because you got disproven once and people made fun of you, you gave up like a little bitch.
Sounds
Yeah.
like the science world is pretty rough.
Yeah.
But this scientist is like poking at him.
Yeah.
Like, and just is so rude to him. But Strat wants to build a zero gravity lab equipment, and Loken proposes a transforming centrifuge ship that can generate artificial gravity. Grace agrees, so Strat recruits Loken to design the Hail Mary. Basically, Loken was saying, it's taken us hundreds of years to make this kind of lab equipment and to make it sustainable and accurate. There is no way we can recreate the history and make it anti-gravity.
Yes.
We can't give you the same quality and make it anti-gravity. You
Yes.
either have poor quality anti-gravity or you have high tech in something that is gravity.
Because there was no way to test it until you get out into space. And if it
Yes.
doesn't work when you're out there, you're fucked.
Exactly.
Back in the present, and he activates the transformation and achieves gravity in the lab. And it's basically like this big part of the ship like inverts, and now there's gravity. He's examining the cooled cylinder he finds is made of pure xenon, which should be impossible because xenon is a gas at room temperature. It's one of the noble gases. So the material is impenetrable with a reverse thread seams inside a scale model of a star system. There's one star, one planet, and a Petrova line between them. So the alien is trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Grace deduces that the aliens are from 40 Iridian, which also has an astrophage infection because it's showing him the Petrova line, which is what is the glow from the astrophage.
He like basically was like, here's a map. This is my planet. This is the star. This is right. Like,
yeah,
this is
and
the
we have this
issue.
problem.
Yes.
So he names the alien Iridians. The solid xenon metal, xenonite, as he calls it. Grace modifies the model to include Sol, which is the Earth's sun, and Venus via the Petrova line. He performs another EVA, so spacewalk, to return the cylinder to Blip A. Blip A return a cylinder aimed directly at the ship's airlock. So it shows that an improvement in aim and understanding. So the alien saw him get out of the hatch and spacewalk. So he's like, oh, I'll just throw it at your door, buddy.
Let me fix this for you so you don't
Yeah.
have to go out here.
So inside the second canister is a model of both ships connected by a tube. The Iridians want to meet.
And then you're like, oh my God, we're going to meet an alien. And it's super freaking cool.
this is fantasy.
It is. It's space fantasy.
This is 100%
rock hard
space
space
fantasy.
There are
fantasy.
100% possibilities that there are aliens in this world, whereas what you guys are reading is legitimate fantasy.
You don't know.
About
There could have been
creatures that
fucking
we don't know
dragons.
who live.
Wyvern?
Wyvern is a mythical
I mean, there
creature.
was a
It's
dragons,
like
I'm sure, back in the day, maybe.
Okay, so why are you shitting on my dragons?
Yes, I agree. It's science fiction, right? It is a science
And
fantasy
all this
issue.
Astrophage, that is a completely, totally
This is more
not-
my jam than the
And
magic in
The
fairies.
alien had to been made up. It's a fantasy item.
Yes,
I agree.
everything about it is very
the premise,
fantasy.
yes, there are probably aliens out there.
Yeah.
But we don't know what they look like.
No,
We
we
don't
don't
know that they look like this.
And
Yeah.
technically, Astrophage could be an alien. It's a living thing in space.
Exactly.
Astrophage is an alien,
Yeah.
right? That
An
is
alien
one of the
life
things they
form.
talk about.
Yes.
But they use it like it's magic, right? Like, oh my gosh, we could propel this magic spaceship that we just created
Yeah, it's
into a place
lightweight.
where no one has ever been able to go.
Let's get you there.
Sure, but I felt more realistic.
All right.
Now, Grace cuts the whole sample. So he has to cut out a sample of his hull and he sends it to Blip A. He's curious how they will reconcile their very different atmospheres. He's assuming that this other ship isn't going to have the exact atmosphere that he's going to have within his own ship. So he's like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to try. So let me just send you a sample of what my ship is made out of so that hopefully you can figure it out. He flashes back and Dimitri's spin drive engine is incredibly powerful, and the Hail Mary has 1,009 individual engines for redundancy. He basically says, like, we're going to have a shit ton of engines just in case one fails. We've got a crap ton of backups. So we're going to make
Which
sure
does
that we
come in handy.
yeah, we're going to make sure we have multiple on there so that no matter what, you're going to have propulsion. So he comes back and Blip A gets super close. And once it finally gets there, the xenonite tunnel attaches itself to the Hail Mary over the airlock. The tunnel is split into two two sections. Humans mimicking Earth's atmosphere on one side, and the Iridian's ammonia-based atmosphere on the other side. Grace enters the tunnel and hears knocking on the other side of the door. He's like, holy shit, this is about to go down. Grace sets up LED lamps to see better because it's space and it's dark and there's no light. And a rock-like hand taps against the transparent part of the divider. Grace presses his face to the divider, but recoils because it's too hot. The alien holds a model of the Hail Mary and a spacesuit gesturing for Grace to return to his ship. Grace is excited by the encounter and names the alien Rocky because he looks like a big rock. Yeah. But he realizes like, oh, the alien is telling me like, get back in my ship. And he's communicating.
Yeah, and the way that it talks, it's like, well, in the book, it's like music notes.
Yes. Oh, yes, because he's talking to him like in sound.
It's like,
yes. Yes.
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
Once he gets back into his ship, Blip A installs a fully transparent divider. I think they have a moment where he's talking about the divider, and he like shows him different materials.
He made the divider out of a bunch of different materials, and he realized that Grace was peering through this one little section.
Yes.
And so he realized, okay, this is what I need to make this material out of.
Yes. So once he gets back into the ship, Blip A installs the fully transparent divider, and Grace finally sees Rocky, his entire body, for the first time. He's the size of a Labrador with a stone-like body. They call it the outside of his body a carapace, which I had to look up, which is basically like the shell of a lobster.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has 5 arms, 3 fingered hands on each arm, no visible head or face, and clothing with dull, inconsistent shading.
Like no eyes, nothing.
Nothing. It's just this like shell with a bunch of arms hanging out of it.
He's like, he looks almost like a little spidery.
Yes, because he does say he's like, it's a giant spider.
Yes.
They both wave to each other, and Grace speaks aloud accidentally, and Rocky responds. He's like, oh my God. Rocky's language is like what whales sound like. Rocky gives Grace 2 spheres, one embossed with the Hail Mary, the other Blip A. Inside the spheres are a ball and string models of atoms representing the compositions of their atmosphere. So he's like, okay, here we have CO2 and whatever oxygen atoms are, and then there's the other one of whatever's in Rocky's, which is ammonia. Grace learns that Rocky's atmosphere is ammonia-based, which is toxic to humans, and his planet has 29 times the pressure of Earth's atmospheric pressure. So if he tried to go into Rocky's ship, he'd basically be crushed like a aluminum
crushed.
can.
Seriously.
The two then start to work together to create a shared language. Grace retrieves an analog clock to demonstrate time. So first, what they start doing is they start like figuring out how to communicate. Grace pulls a laptop out of his spaceship. He programs it to start understanding music notes, essentially.
Right.
And they will go back and forth. Rocky will make a sound, and then Grace will try to figure out what that is, and then he records it on his laptop. He enters what the word is for that, and every time there's a new word, eventually the laptop will hear the sound and then basically pop up the words that match that sound, so now he can understand him.
Which is crazy. He basically makes a translator.
Yes.
Well, because they have all of
The
state-of-the-art
world's technology.
equipment, yeah.
No, all of the software, yes, technology software, all of that is aboard the ship.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's like, there's got to be some shit in here to like collect the sounds and allow me to make some kind of translation.
Yeah, I think Strat at one point says like we have to have all of the world's technology on this thing, because I think even Grace tells her like, we're gonna put all of this on the ship, like we're never gonna fit all of this in here. And she goes, you're going on a world saving mission. I can't get you up there and you not have something you might need, so you
Yes.
need to take it all.
Yeah.
Because
there's not like another chance for this.
No.
This is it.
So you need to have every encyclopedia,
Yes.
every whatever of information that you could possibly have to be able to get what you need when you're up there.
Right.
So he creates this translator system. They start communicating. He eventually gets a analog clock to demonstrate time on Earth. Rocky doesn't really see the markings, and he uses echolocation instead of vision. He realizes at that point, like he's trying to point at time, and Rocky's not
Can't
getting
see
it.
it.
And so he realizes that, oh, you don't have eyes. So
Yeah.
you obviously have to see a different way. He uses echolocation instead of vision. So Rocky retrieves an Iridian clock. Grace marks 2 on the clock, notating he will return in 2 hours because it's been hours. They've They've been going at this for forever.
Right.
And he needs to eat. He needs to sleep. He's exhausted.
I need a nap.
Yes. He's like, I'm only going to leave for 2 hours. I just need to recharge the batteries and I'll be right back. Rocky has near perfect memory, making language learning much faster for him. Rocky, once he knows, he doesn't even need to think twice anymore. Now he knows what your word is for that. Grace then brings Astrophage into the tunnel. Rocky confirms his home star is also infected and they are both there for the same reason, and it's to save their planets. Rocky asks to watch Grace while he sleeps, which is an act of concern. I remember in this scene, it's so funny because Rocky's like, I need to go sleep now. You're going to watch me sleep. And Grace is like, why?
Yeah.
Why would I need to do that? And he ends up going through this whole thing that like Iridians are pack animals, and it's most likely like a survival thing where one sleeps while the other one watches, because once they fall asleep, they're like paralyzed. Like they don't sleep necessarily. They almost go into like a coma.
Right.
And so they have to watch each other. And so Grace finally accepts, tapes his bed into the tunnel. He brings it in at one point and he's kind of just like tying himself to the wall so that he could sleep because there's no gravity and he's floating. And then he realizes that I could take my bed and strap it down so that I could at least sleep in here comfortably. While he falls asleep, Rocky works. He's like, you sleep, I'll watch you.
Yeah, that was the first.
Yes. And he's like, okay. And he's probably thinking, science, I guess. Like, you want to know about humans. Cool. And so later, Rocky asks Grace to watch him sleep. Grace suggests another Iridian do it, but Rocky reveals that he is the last surviving crew member on his ship.
Which is so sad.
And all 22 crewmates have died.
That's so many crewmates.
Yes. Well, his ship was like so much bigger than Grace's.
And he's got a... Oh, no, keep going.
Grace realizes neither of them are alone anymore. Like, they finally have a friend, and they've been alone for so long. They eventually figure out that he's been alone in Tau Ceti for like 46 years. That's how long Rocky's been there by himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, Rocky has been at Tau Ceti longer than the United States have been a thing. He's like, he was born before Abraham Lincoln or something like that, is how he like describes it.
I don't remember that either. But I do know their lifespan is
way longer.
Hundreds of years. Yeah.
It's 600 years. And so Rocky builds a suit inside of the Hail Mary. They're doing more experiments and they're talking and they're learning. And eventually Rocky says, I'm going to come on. And the way he talks is the best because he's like, I'm going to come on you ship. And he's like, what? You're coming on my ship? And he's like, yeah, you have all the science. You have all this new stuff. You have way more than we do. So I build tunnel and come to you ship.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, come on over, I guess. He's like, how are you going to do this? And they detach from the Blip A once he gets all of his shit in there. He kind of talks about him as he has a flashback of Linda, his past girlfriend. And he remembers her moving into their apartment and bringing like so much stuff. And he goes, this is sort of Rocky. Rocky reminds me of Linda. He's bringing in everything he owns.
Like all the things.
Everything. And he's like, why are you bringing all this? He's like, we need it. I need all this to make material and to do all the things because Rocky was a fixer. Like he was like an engineer essentially.
Yeah, he's an engineer.
On the Blip A, and he builds things. And so he builds the suit and he moves into Hail Mary. They attach the Blip A and initiate the centrifuge mode for lab experiments because Rocky's all about it. He wants to see all the stuff. He wants to learn about all the equipment. And he tells them the only way that I can do that is if we turn the centrifuge back on so that we can get some gravity to work it. And he says, all right, do it. Grace admits that he is on a suicide mission finally. And he's at first kind of sad, like, oh, wow, you're brave.
Why would your planet do that to you
yes.
too? Like,
and he tells them, I only had enough astrophage to get here. I didn't have enough to get home.
yes.
And Rocky's like, oh. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait, how much astrophage do you need?
Yeah.
And he's like 1 million whatever grams of astrophage. And Rocky's like, oh, I have so much of it. I'll give it to you.
I have plenty. We really overcalculated.
Yeah. He's like, I got here way faster than we thought. And so then he's like, wait a second, you're going to give me the astrophage to get home? And he has this moment of like, I'm not on a suicide mission anymore.
Yes.
I've been here all this time and now I'm going to get to go home.
Yes.
So he kind of cries a little, realization like, oh shit, I'm going to live. So then he flashes back to 3 astronauts, the Chinese, the Russian, and the American. And there's backups chosen. So they decide who they're going to be. They pick the 3, and then they also have to pick backups just in case something happens to
And they're
those.
like testing everyone.
Everybody they can test. I think at one point they even tell
a bunch
Grace,
of like scientists come forward and they're like, I volunteer as tribute.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, because even Grace is like, who's gonna volunteer? We probably have thousands of people to volunteer for this. And Strat's like, give us your arm, we're gonna test you too. And he's like, you don't need need my blood. I'm not going up there.
Yeah.
Like, there's this
She's
stupid.
like, we just want to know.
Everybody. We
Yep.
have to do everybody. Grace learns that he also has the coma-resistant DNA marker, and he's kind of pissed because they didn't tell him. He sort of finds out by the Russian astronaut, and he's like, why didn't they tell me? And he's like, I don't know. You're going to have to ask Strat about that. He's like, it's my DNA. You should have told me. But anyways, they ask him to train the mission's lead scientists, Martin Dubois.
At this point, though, it's clear Grace is not going to space.
Yes, he is not. He is just there
another 3.
to train and to give all the information that he has about Astrophage to them because he's a smart guy and they needed him.
And he's learned a whole lot about Astrophage, and
They need that info.
yes.
They flash forward. Grace and Rocky set course for Tau Ceti E, which Rocky names after his mate. Grace observes Rocky's private eating process because he tells him, I need to go eat. And Rocky's like, you don't need to watch this. And
Yeah.
Grace is like, no, science. I
It's
need
like
to
going
watch
to
this.
the bathroom for him almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's gross. You don't want to see this. And he goes, no, science. I need to see this.
Yes.
And basically, his whole bottom half of his carapace opens up and just like devours the food and stuff's falling out. It's really disgusting and
It
gross.
sounded foul.
It did. Yeah, it did.
Yes. And he's like, now I know why he didn't want me to see this.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, this is pretty gross.
Yeah. Grace and Rocky head to the closest planet to Tau Ceti, which they called Adrian, to collect astrophage samples. Rocky builds a scanner to convert light into texture so he can see what Grace sees. Because he asks him, like, you see sound and you see light?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I see them with my eyes and I hear sound with my ears. And he's like pointing to the anatomy on his body so that Rocky can understand. And he's just like blown away. Like,
Yes.
you see things? And
Because he has no real
he has
sight.
No,
Yeah.
he's just echolocation, right? So the astrophage around Adrian is identical to those near Venus. They discover multiple alien life forms in the sample of astrophage, suggesting a natural predator of astrophage. They realize there's this other bacteria, or I don't even know what you want to call it, but it eats
Life
the
form.
astrophage. And so now they're realizing, okay, there's more to this whole ecosystem that's up here.
Weird. This undiscovered space has more stuff going on than we thought.
Odd.
Rock hard fantasy.
The predator could be the key to saving Earth and Iridian's sun because they realize we need to get rid of the astrophage from eating our sun and dimming the light. So if we can figure out how to get this predator to eat the astrophage, it'll get rid of that and then it'll save both planets. Easy thing to do. Then Grace flashbacks again. He's in a test vacuum. He's in a safe lab equipment at NASA. Grace reluctantly instructs Dubois and Shapiro, learning they have a romantic relationship.
The way they said, like, yeah, we're going to die, so we're fucking now.
Yeah.
Like, they just,
It's like we're literally on a suicide mission. He's
yeah, so
got
we're
a good
going to,
dick.
we're going to bang.
Here I
Yeah.
am.
I mean, I may not get to do this again, so
Yeah.
this is it.
I'm going to bang it out every chance I get.
Yes.
First, they wanted to only pick men to be on the spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, what? Why would you only pick men? I'm sure there's other smart women. And she goes, because I don't need these people to have these relationships on this mission. People have killed for less, and to have this like threesome happening,
Yeah.
I don't need that. The final components of the Hail Mary are launched and assembled in orbit. Grace realizes he is considered Strat's second in command for the Hail Mary.
Which is wild.
He's like, wait a second, I never volunteered for this.
Totally disproven. Water, life, not needed.
And here I am saving the world.
And here I am second in command.
Well, and it was like the scientists and like the people who were actually the astronauts came up to him and was like, we can't find Strat. What do we do? And he's like, we need to find Strat. And they're like, no, you tell us.
yes.
Yes. Grace cannot find Astrophage's predator in the collected samples. Rocky theorizes that it exists in the lower atmosphere of Adrian. Grace calculates Astrophage's breeding altitude, but the Hail Mary can't reach it. They have to like get super close to this
Yes.
planet and maybe get sucked in by its environment. Grace must carefully pilot the Hail Mary to avoid burning the chain or losing orbit. Because they plan to lower a xenonite chain with a sample device to fish the Astrophage out of it because they can't get that low. Rocky's like, I'll just build it. Like that's
Yeah.
usually
Yeah,
his answer
that's
for
his
most
answer.
things. I'll just
and
build
he
it.
can, honestly. Like,
Yes. And he does it like
Wish he
while
was-
he's simultaneously talking to Grace about other things with his like 50 hands, and he's just like doing all the things.
Yes.
Grace realizes
Which I
Iridian's
feel like that he's probably more a woman.
because he does say he doesn't know if he's a man or a woman, but they call him Rocky.
yes.
Yeah.
But-
Grace realizes Iridians do not understand relativistic physics or time dilation.
Which is
he
why they
says-
had so much astrophage
Yes.
on that spaceship.
Yeah, they
Yes.
didn't realize actually
How
how
time
space works. So because they've never even gone into orbit.
Well, he was shocked to find out that there were so many space travel things that they didn't know about.
Yeah.
Like, we are sort of in line with technology, but you have so many things that you don't know.
Which is what I kind of meant like earlier on. You imagine, oh, there's this other life force, this alien life force that has this massive ship and they got it up here and they have xenonite and it's wild. They have to be the smartest things on the galaxies. And no, Grace is like, let me teach you some things.
The Blip A's journey took only 3 years instead of 6 due to time dilation effects, which he explains. I can't remember what the
Again,
relativity
nothing we need an
periods
explanation for.
So when
we
you're
just
going
need
the
to
speed
know.
of light, you're experiencing 3 years and Earth is experiencing
quicker.
13.
Yes.
Same thing for Rocky.
Yes.
Yep.
So
There, told
Rocky's,
ya.
there you
Period.
go. Look at see, you're so smart. Rocky's people have achieved interstellar travel purely through Newtonian physics and engineering, which is, he didn't realize actually why all of his crewmates died, and it was because of radiation, and he had explained radiation to him, and they had no idea that
Right.
radiation was even in space.
Oh,
Right.
because their atmosphere is so dense, they don't experience
No.
any radiation.
Yes. So then he flashes back, and Professor Steve Hatch introduces the Beetle probes, designed to return to Earth in 12 years. The probes use spin drives and will experience only 20 months of relative time, so it'll get there so much faster. And Hatch sees Astrophage as divine intervention, giving humanity unlimited energy. They're like, we could use this for so many things now.
Okay, chapters 19 through 24. Rocky and Grace work to create a xenonite chain for 2 weeks. They have to create such a long chain of this. It takes them 2 weeks to do, which I think is crazy. Grace manually adjusts the Hail Mary's flight path to safely lower it. The engine superheats Adrian's atmosphere, but the Astrophage cooling system should prevent a catastrophe. Grace takes a spacewalk to retrieve the sample while under Adrian's gravity. Rocky designed a winch that's pulling up the chain, but also dismantling it. As it pulls up, it's releasing the chain. So if anything fails, they have to remake this freaking
I know,
chain that
such a
took 2
stupid
weeks.
idea. They're like the smartest people ever, and they're like, let's get rid of our
But
one chain.
But
Because
there
if
was
not,
an
it'll be
issue though
tangled.
when they were gonna pull it back, it was gonna cause an issue.
I know, but you couldn't problem solve that. You problem solved everything else.
did. By releasing the chain.
Then you're gonna be stuck for another 2 weeks
Yeah,
if you
trying
have to
do
go
it
back
again.
fishing
It's like, this
again.
is it. They've
I
got
mean,
their
he's
one.
on a death mission.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
yeah, I guess so.
He's like, I ain't got nowhere to go.
And Rocky's like, I got 5 million years of Astrophage in my
Seriously.
bitch, so
We good. He's walking out there. They start off slow, just like 2 links a second. And then by the time they get past 2 minutes, they're like, okay, bump
Speed it
that
up.
thing up. Grace retrieves the sample, but the ship suddenly starts to like veer off course. So it slams him into the hole, but he's holding on to that freaking sample because he does not want to do this for another 2 weeks. When he gets back, he realizes that there's a hole in the fuel tank. Astrophage is escaping. So the shift was caused because Astrophage is seeing Adrian and trying to rush over
Oh,
to
yeah.
Adrian, which is pushing the ship off course. Under extreme G forces, Grace jettisons the damaged tanks before being crushed. So it's causing more and more gravity. The way he like realizes that there's an issue, he holds up his hand and he drops it. And it's like, there shouldn't be gravity. None of the gravity's turned on. And then he drops it again. He's like, ow, now that one hurt. So there's more gravity. And then all of a sudden it's starting to get hard to breathe. And it's kind of this really adrenaline moment, right? Where he's trying to get rid of these damaged tanks, but getting rid of them at jettisons, which pushes them the opposite direction. So now they're spinning in outer space and he's just being crushed. It's going faster and faster, more and more gravity, but it's the opposite way. So originally it's hard to get to the controls. And then when he jettisons the fuel tanks, now it's pushing him towards the controllers. It's kind of pushing him on the controls. And then the chair breaks and the chair is crushing him. All of a sudden he starts to, his eyes are watering. He's like, am I crying? Am I sad that I'm dying? And then he's like, no, this is like a chemical burn. And he realizes there's ammonia in the atmosphere. And Rocky removes the chair from his back to save his life. But he left his pressurized compartment to save Grace and then collapses from the exposure to Earth's atmosphere. Grace manually activates the centrifuge mode to stabilize gravity to the ship. He fixes what he's supposed to do. And then he tries to carry Rocky back to his side of the dormitory. But the airlock to Rocky's compartment is destroyed. He's also had to carry, Rocky's like 400 pounds or something like that. So he's trying to carry him, but he created some sort of pulley system that's, he's like carrying him around, and he's hot. So he's got this suit on that's even heavier.
yeah.
So he's trying to carry Rocky to his area and he's already struggling. And then he sees the airlock and he's like, shoot. The lab is in complete disarray, and Grace briefly exposes himself to Rocky's atmosphere, which causes him to get severe burns on one side of his body specifically. And he just kind of tumbles into his bed area, and he's like, "Computer, help!" And they're like, "Oh, all these, you have a lot of
Arms
issues."
pop out.
Yeah. And so
Medical emergency.
so they sedate him and intubate him. Eventually, he wakes up 6 hours later and is bandaged. He's in pain, but he's still determined to help Rocky. So despite the exhaustion and painkillers, Grace tries to repair the ship and examine the sample because he wants to know if everything's working, if they got what they needed. Accidentally seals the Astrophage observation tank, and he can't actually retrieve the testing because it's sealed. Grace is he feels like he has to help Rocky, so he's drilling into the dorm. He feels like he's genius too when he's doing it. He's like, "I'm so smart," but he's all on drugs. He's super sleep deprived. He gets like some sort of pressurized pump to clear soot from Rocky's radiator organ, hoping to save his friend. So he blows it off. It's been a couple days. He blows it out of his friend. All this black tar stuff comes out.
And he's like, yes, look at me.
Yeah,
doing
he's like,
good
"It's so
work.
satisfied.
Yeah.
You're going to get better."
It's like a pressure washer, you know? They're like cleaning the
Yes,
area.
he even talks about blowing an old computer, like dust out of an old
Yes.
computer.
Yes.
It's satisfying. We flash back, and Grace is tasked to speak to the 3 astronauts about their preferred methods of euthanasia.
Oh, yeah.
After the mission, which is so funny. Dubois wants nitrogen. He just wants to be asphyxiated slowly and fall asleep and die. I feel
Peaceful.
like, good. That's a great way to go. And then frickin' Ilyukna wants heroin. She's like, "I've been a good girl all my life.
Yeah.
I've never done drugs. I've had very little sex, and I want a heroin overdose. That's how I want to go."
But she was like, "It needs to be specific to my
Yes.
body weight because I want my first dose to make me feel fucking great.
Yes.
and then I want that killer dose.
Yes. And she's like,
Yes.
"You guys can figure it out so that when I take it, it's not uncomfortable. It's just going to kill me. But I want to take heroin. I want to enjoy
I want to
it.
feel it.
Yes. And then the next guy's like, "Just give me a gun and I'll shoot." Yeah, I'll just want a firearm. He's like, "I'll kill myself. And if anything goes wrong, I'll kill you." And even Ilyugna then is like, "Okay, but if I look like I'm having a good time, please don't shoot me."
Yeah. She's like, let me live for a minute.
He's like, "Understood." The way that it is all said, it's very sciencey and very
It's very
like
cut and dry.
Yes. So Rocky, we're back in the ship, and Rocky is alive. But he's like, "Did that stuff come out of me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I blew it out of you." He's all proud, Grace. He's like, "How long was it in me?" He's like, "For at least 2 days. I saved your life." And he's like, "Actually, you almost killed me." And Grace realizes that he didn't blow dust out of him. He tore off his scabs. His
And it
body
was like
needed
the
it.
stuff healing him.
Yes. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." No, Rocky even makes a comment about a couple things because he talks about how he couldn't get the Adrian sample and everything because there's stuff happening in there. I could see that stuff is happening in there. The cotton swab is fluffier, but I have no way of retrieving it. He's like, "You're not usually this stupid. Yeah. What's wrong with you?" He's like,
Yes.
"Well, I'm tired and I'm on drugs." He's like, "Go sleep. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He doesn't help him open it either until he's like weaned off of
Yes.
the drugs.
Yeah, he tells them like, no, like
Yeah.
you can't. This
there's
is our
even
only
a-
sample. If you screw that up,
Yes.
we're not gonna be able to do it. But the way Rocky talks to him is just the funniest thing. Like I loved his little
A
like,
lot
clips
of it. Yes.
because he'd be like, "You're stupid."
Yeah.
like just
You're
so
not usually
direct.
stupid. Why are you so stupid right now?
I figure out box. You sleep. I
Yes.
watch.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and even in this moment, I think Grace thinks of something like, "Oh, I know what we could do." And he goes to like do it. He's like, "Wait, you just told me you're on drugs and you're tired and you're stupid when you're those things, but you want to go fix the spaceship?"
Yeah.
All sounds stupid.
All sounds stupid.
All in Rocky's
sleep.
organ
Yeah.
tones.
Go sleep.
The way he talked reminded me of the little purple alien in Home.
Oh, yeah. It's Sheldon
Big
from
Bang-
Big Bang Theory.
Big Gang.
Yeah, but like also with a little bit of auto-tune. Grace and Rocky do discover an astrophage eating amoeba. So there's some sort of amoeba that's eating the astrophage. They decide to name it Taumoeba.
I don't know why that makes me laugh so much.
Well, even
Tausetti.
I think
I know, but it's an amoeba. Taumoeba.
and even they like I think he says it sounds like something you'd farm on a ranch. "I'm a rancher. I've been farming miles and miles, square footage. I don't remember how he says it of Taumoeba." So they begin breeding Taumoeba and test it to survive in the atmospheres of Venus and Three World, which is one of the planets in Rockies.
It's Rocky's Venus.
Yeah, it was I forget what they needed needed it to be immune to.
It needed to be nitrogen resistant up to a
There
certain
you go,
percent.
nitrogen resistant. Yes.
So the Hail Mary suffers a full blackout. The ship's generators fail due to Talmiba infiltrating the fuel lines and eating the astrophage. Again, I think Rocky's like, this is when you were being stupid. You just didn't think about it. So they realize that it's been eating the astrophage and there's no more astrophage left on the ship, which is wild. That's their fuel. That's their everything. Rocky makes a comment about him having some, but all their generators are out and he's like, give it to me. I'll try and fix it. We'll try and work something out. And then Grace realizes that the Beatles have their own astrophage supply in order to get them back to Earth. So he's going to have to attempt to retrieve them. Despite the ship being in centrifuge, Grace makes a dangerous spacewalk to collect the Beatles. Rocky modifies the probes to function as thrusters and Grace successfully stabilizes the ship. Again, we go back to a flashback. There's an explosion and he sees it outside his window. It like blows him back off of his chair. They're trying to figure out what happens. And there was an explosion that killed Dubois and Shapiro. It was an accident that was caused by miscalculated astrophage doses. Strap forces Grace onto the mission, drugging him.
It was Dubois and Shapiro were two people who were supposed to be on the mission. And that's why they needed like
it was like they were the backup for each other or something.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
So one of them was going to go on and then the other one was the backup
Which
just
is
in
crazy
case.
because they were doing all these protocols
Keep
to make
them apart from each other.
No, they were doing that,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, everybody takes their own car. Nobody goes in the same place.
Yes.
You can't have the whole mission getting screwed up.
Yeah, so now they need to find someone who still has that gene.
That coma-resistant gene.
And can know what they're doing when they're on this thing. And Grace has that gene. And so Strat actually forces Grace onto the mission. She drugs him to induced amnesia so he won't resist.
So, because
She
it
puts
is
him in a
amnesia.
coma,
That's
right?
why he wakes up and he doesn't know his name. He doesn't know anything.
But that's just part of being in the coma, I think. She's like, and she tells him, either you're not going to remember that I did this and then you're going to do it, or you're going to remember and you're going to go, but I'm here because you are actually a good person and you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, because he does like, I'm not volunteering.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do
so
not
she-
volunteer as tribute.
Yeah,
He
and
was-
so she
it's
was
like,
like,
"You can't make me." And
You're
she's
gonna
like,
do
"Yeah,
it
watch me."
anyways. I'm just gonna
Like, this is for
I'm
humanity.
gonna put you in a coma and you're gonna go. So
Yes, deal with it.
Yeah, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
and he was. I remember him. Didn't he say
And then
something
I don't
like,
have to deal with the repercussions because you're never going to come back.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You won't tell anyone. You won't it's kind of horrible.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It's a horrible moment.
And then he has a moment where he's like, and damn it, she was right. Like,
Yeah.
Here I am going, all right, well, now I have to save humanity and I'm going to do it because I am a good person.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just needed the push, but I think he feels a little bit of remorse too. Like I was a shitty person.
Yes,
just
he does.
being forced to do something that was right.
Yes.
I didn't want to.
He's like not proud of himself for being so selfish.
Yeah, he feels ashamed and that he never actually volunteered to do this job.
And it's also a little weird because when he's doing, like, when he's not sure who he is and he's doing the spacewalk, he's like, yeah, I'm an astronaut.
Yes.
I trained for this. I got this.
Yes.
Never had he done that.
Then he realizes like 37 chapters later that
Oh,
really he wasn't a trained astronaut at all.
Yeah, right.
He is winging it.
So Rocky reinforces the Beatles to allow full thrust, and Grace discovers that Talmiba die in Venus and Three Worlds atmosphere. Rocky comforts Grace, but Grace spirals into self-doubt upon realizing he was a last-minute substitution. Like,
I'm
he
not
can't
going to
do
be
it.
able to figure this out. Clearly, I was never supposed to be
I was
here.
never supposed
Yeah.
to be here. Oh.
Which is wild because he was
Get it together,
training
you've
all
been
the people
great.
who
Yes.
were going to be
Yeah,
there.
he was second in command.
Yes.
Yeah. But he also almost never realized he was second in command.
No.
Right? He
Even
just
when they
like-
told him that he was like, nah.
He had to go have that conversation with what's your suicide hopes, dreams? He had to go have this meeting with discussing how people wanted to die because he was second in command and people liked him better. So she sent him to do these things that she was supposed to do, but she could trust him to handle it.
Yes.
But he never considered himself that high up.
And he would be like, why am I teaching these people these
Yes.
things? Like, I'm clearly not the smartest person to be doing this. Or,
Yes.
you know,
He had
this
a lot
whole
of
time.
self-doubt the whole time. So he didn't remember he had self-doubt. Now all of a sudden he remembers and he's spiraling into it again.
But it just plays into confidence. Like, having confidence could really get you so far.
Seriously.
Because
Fake it
he
till you
just-
make it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, baby. He was not an astronaut.
good.
And
I
he
can do
faked
this.
it, and he became one.
So Grace devises a new plan, breeding nitrogen-resistant Talmiba through controlled experiments. Rocky builds 10 experiment tanks. They return to Blip A using preset engine flashes as a beacon.
Rocky set Blip A to flashes thrusters every.
So they knew where it was at.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
find
yeah,
it.
yeah.
They can find it on
Yes.
the radar.
So they find Blip A. They head back to Blip A using those preset engine flashes as a beacon. And Rocky reveals feels Iridians don't name ships and finds humanity's habit of naming everything really strange. There was one line that I just thought was so funny. It made me laugh out loud because they're teaching each other their language.
Yeah.
They're talking about Talmiba, how Talmiba ate all the astrophage on the ship and all that's left is this stinky goo. And he's like, what is it? And they're like, maybe the astrophage rotted somehow. It is living. He's like, no, how would it rot? And he's like, oh, the Talmiba got in, ate all the astrophage, and it's Talmiba poop. And then he says something like, oh, we could use Talmiba farts to get us back to the thing. And Rocky's like, what's that word after Talmiba? And he's like, we had no time to explain.
Forget it.
Okay.
Too much fun.
We get into our last chumpy, chapters 25 through 30. Rocky and Grace celebrate successfully breeding Talmiba 35, because that's what number experiment they're on.
Yeah.
Which survives Venus's 3.5% nitrogen atmosphere. Rocky designs a life support device for laptops, calling them portable thinking machines, to bring human knowledge back to Arid. Grace promises to teach basic writing language to help Iridian scholars. He's getting prepped to go home.
Yeah, because they're like exchanging stuff now. They're like, okay, we're going to go home. We figured it out. We have enough astrophage to get you home, to get me home. We're going to go.
Yes.
And so he's like, send me with all the technology you can for my people. And Grace is like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to like package up these things for you.
Yeah.
And he's all excited to take a laptop with him. He's like, we don't have any of this.
Yes.
Send it with me.
Yes.
So in exchange, Rocky gives xenonite materials for Earth, and Grace cleans out fuel tanks contaminated with Talmiba to prepare the refueling from Blip A. 2 tanks are unsalvageable. Grace doesn't have enough fuel storage to reach Earth before his food runs out, so Rocky builds replacement fuel tanks from iridian metallic alloy. Grace and Rocky successfully breed Talmiba 82.5, which can survive in 3 worlds, 8% nitrogen atmosphere, and Grace teaches Rocky to fist bump. Grace finds Ilyukna's vodka for a toast, and Rocky wears a traditional Iridian celebration outfit.
Oh yeah, he talks about how he gets all dressed up and he has like gloves on.
They load the Talmiba samples into the beetle probes. Grace and Rocky bid an emotional farewell, knowing they will likely never meet again.
No, they were
Because
best
Rocky's
friends.
like, we'll see each other again. You can come back. And he's like, I'm not going to live that long. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
Yes.
Rocky Iridians lived for like 600 years or something.
So Rocky departs in Blip A while Grace sets course for Earth. Then there's another flashback. Strats visits Grace, explaining that famine from the dimming sun will cause wars and massive death. She justifies her ruthless actions, saying she had no choice. Grace angrily tells her to go to hell, and she replies, hell is coming to us.
It was such a dramatic moment.
It was. Back on the Hail Mary, Grace debates whether to stay awake or enter hibernation for the long journey. He misses Rocky and occasionally tracks Blip A using the Petrovoscope, and he prepares the Talmiba farms using iridian steel instead of xenonite so Earth scientists can access them. Grace discovers that Talmiba has contaminated his astrofuel tank
Again.
because they figured out how to escape the xenonite chamber. So Grace deduces that the ship's life support system allowed Talmiba to escape. To kill the infestation, he flushes all oxygen and fills the ship with pure nitrogen, and after several hours, he restores to normal atmosphere. He isolates the Talmiba farms to prevent further outbreaks.
He's like, basically, I created Talmiba that could live in the atmosphere and basically screwed myself.
yes. And then it figured out how to worm itself out.
Yes, because he talks about how xenonite has like holes in it, right? It's like not a solid thing, like down to its molecular level
It's
or whatever.
a porous metal.
Yeah, and they could squeeze their way through the pores of the metal.
Yeah. And because of all of the experience we were doing, he kind of forced evolution on them.
Yes.
Yes.
And they evolved to be able to fit in those little pores.
Yeah.
To
They
escape the
figured it out.
nitrogen
Yeah. To
atmosphere.
save themselves.
To save themselves, yes. Life is wild.
Grace spends 3 days testing fuel tanks, ensuring they are free of Talmiba. The test farms are clean. The larger farms are the source leaks, and Talmiba evolved into burrowing into xenonite, escaping their tanks. Since nitrogen can't replicate their movement, the xenonite tanks could not contain them. He confirms that Talmiba 82.5 is nitrogen resistant even outside of the xenonite, and Rocky is in danger because Blip A's fuel tanks are made of xenonite.
Yeah, he realizes like, oh shit.
He's
I
gonna
just
get
sent
stuck.
him home with
Well-
a bunch of astrophage that can.
And he's never going to get home.
Yeah.
They're going to drown his
They're gonna
tanks.
eat his entire tank. He's got like hundreds and hundreds.
Yes.
Of things.
Yeah.
He's just gonna. They're gonna
That
live
Talmiba
forever.
is gonna thrive and
They're gonna be
dying, man.
They're gonna be thick.
Thick Talmiba. Thick, juicy Talmiba.
That's a wiggle.
So Grace can no longer locate Blip A, confirming that Talmiba devoured Rocky's fuel, and he faces a life or death choice. Go home and save Earth, leaving Rocky and Irid to die, or rescue Rocky but sacrifice his chance to return to Earth. Overcome with emotion, he launches the beetle probes and turns his ship to search for Rocky. Using the Petrovoscope as a radar, he locates Blip A. Plus, he gave directions. Like, he basically gave the GPS to Rocky. And so he's like, he wouldn't have deterred from this arc that I told him to travel on, so I'm just going to drive on it. And he spacewalks and knocks on Blip A's hull. Rocky is shocked and move and reconnects their ships. He was like, you came back for me.
He was like, Talmiba is eating my fuel. And he's like, I know, that's why I'm here. He's like, you came. He was so excited.
It was beautiful.
It was such a beautiful relationship.
I can't even.
So Grace explains the Talmiba mutation, and they agree to return to Irid. Rocky suggests Grace eats Talmiba. It's an organic life form, offering a possible food source. Yeah, he's like, I am not going to have enough food to get there.
Yeah.
And then we jump 16 years into the future, and Grace lives on Irid, teaching science to young Iridians. They built him a habitat. I just imagined it being like a giant bubble.
Yeah, like a see-through bubble.
Yeah, like a dome.
In this dark ass planet,
Like,
because there's no light.
The Iridians create nutrient shakes and lab-grown protein from his DNA.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild. He was eating himself. He has aged prematurely due to the gravity.
Yeah, because it's super heavy and it's weighing him down.
But his dome helped a little bit, but still it's pushing on his dome piece. So Rocky and his mate Adrian.
He talks about how it's like bright in his dome and then it's dark on the outside.
Because he had them.
Because they don't have light and
he
they don't
made
have
lights
eyes.
because they don't need it.
Yeah.
But he does.
And then Rocky just comes and visits him every day and they just chit chat through the dome.
With their little sarcastic banter.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Earth survived. Rocky confirms that the Beatles arrived, and Earth scientists solved the Petrova problem in 1 year. The Hail Mary is fully fueled, and Grace could return to Earth, though the journey would be long and lonely. So Rocky selfishly hopes that Grace stays on Irid. As he teaches his Iridian students, Grace reflects on humanity's resilience and finds peace in his new home. He decides to stay there. And like all these little Iridian children come to his dome, and he teaches them. He plays the organ and teaches them Earth science.
He's like, everybody sit down, and the kids like, oh,
They're like,
yeah, everybody's getting together, and I was so happy. Like, what a cute ending.
Oh.
16 years later, how old do you think he was at that point? Because how old was he when he left?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
He was
In his
probably
30s, maybe?
a 30-year-old middle school teacher, and then
however long he was in space
13
traveling,
years, right?
And then another
But
16.
He
on
was
top of
13
that?
years on Earth, but he only experienced like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, in relativity, yeah.
Oh, that's right. So
maybe he was
was
only
still in
like
his
in his
30s.
40s.
yeah, he was in his late 40s.
Okay.
But he aged prematurely, so it was probably like late 60s.
So he just he caught back up. He was
Yeah.
like, I didn't live those 13 years,
That's
but
true.
I caught up, right?
I sped it up.
Yeah.
I got them last
Sped it up and then slowed it down.
Yeah. And that was Project Hail Mary.
I bet we can guess what Rox rated it.
Yeah.
No stars.
You're right, liar. Let's talk about how we review. We do it on a 3-shot system. 1 shot, I'm not coming back for more. 2 shots, it's good enough for another, but not worth the hangover. And 3 shots, it got me up.
So stupid.
It's so stupid that we laugh every single time.
Every
But you know
time.
what? I'm gonna keep laughing. Okay, so Rox, tell us what you shotted it.
1 shot. Just kidding.
I was like,
no,
that's
you
a
didn't.
lie.
3 shots.
How did we know? Surprise, surprise.
I had no idea.
Whatever. You know what? Surprisingly, this was my pick, and I wasn't sure because I'd never really read a sci-fi. But I really
And you went
liked it.
hard with the hardcore.
I liked it.
Hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
And
Rock
I
hard
picked
sci-fi.
I picked it because it was
Yeah.
space themed, and I love that. And I loved it, every minute of it. I got teary-eyed for Rocky, and I was really sad when he almost died.
Mind-boggling to me.
I did get teary-eyed when I thought Rocky was dead. I did cry a
Yeah.
little. But I just think it's so crazy that there was children dying in some of our books. There were some really sad things happening in some of the books we read, and you were like, yeah, no dry eyes, I'm good. And then Rocky.
That was sad.
A
But,
living
you know,
radiator.
somebody had to die. It was the times.
But then Rocky, a living radiator, dies. She's like, no.
Not the spider dog.
They had had such a sweet relationship. They were
did.
besties.
They were friends, which is why I got misty about it.
And then
too.
I was so happy. Like the ending, I thought was really cute. Like he just ended up. He was still a teacher, but for now, alien children. He had a class full of spiders. So 3 shots from rocks. Recommend everybody go read it, even if you don't like sci-fi.
Rock hard sci-fi.
I will. I'm gonna go next.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure I know what Rachel also rated it. I'm in the middle. I think I'm gonna give it a 2 because we're not doing half shots because Rachel will cut someone. But
I say
I
go
will.
for it. I allow it.
I will cut you as an accomplice.
I'm saying I feel like I land on 2 often, but there's a lot of times I'm like 2 leaning towards a 1, 2 leaning towards a 3. This time I'm for sure leaning towards a 3. I did really enjoy it. I have suggested it to a couple people, so I definitely recommend reading it. I just don't know that I liked it so much that I gave it a 3 shot, but I definitely really enjoyed it. And I also recommend listening to it because the actor's voice was really good. Hearing Rocky talk, I feel like it was a better experience listening to it than just reading it.
I
think
agree.
the book has
listening was definitely helpful.
It highlighted because the voice actor did a good job
Yes.
of the little like smart ass quips.
Yes.
He had good timing with
He's
them.
a good voice actor
He was
for
really
sure.
good, yeah.
Yeah, so
Probably
I would
the
say,
best I've heard
Yes.
of all of our books so far.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I'm giving it a 2 shot.
The first quarter, almost half of the book, I struggled and I was like, fuck this book. Fuck this book. This is a 1-shot book. I don't know if I can finish it. And then it turned and it got better. So I'm going to give it a 2 at the end
I'm
because I did
surprised.
really,
Okay.
because I thought the ending, once it made the turn, it was good.
All right.
And when I was making our chumpies,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? If I just read my notes, like this sounds like a good story. I think the hardcore science part of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
part
an
was hard.
idiot.
No.
I like science.
Sure.
I almost majored in math.
Yeah.
This was too fucking much.
I definitely did not major in math.
Yeah,
That
I
was
did
not
not.
my strong suit.
I definitely
or science,
skimmed
but-
over a lot of the like numbers part of it or the like hard science.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I understood. He definitely was a teacher who was teaching younger students.
Yeah.
So a lot of time I felt like he was talking to me about that stuff. But then there were some things that I was like, this is too much detail and I've tuned you out or I've
Yeah, it's
skimmed over
unnecessary.
it.
Yeah.
And that's why I had a hard time reading it. Once I switched over to the audiobook, it was easier.
Yeah, yeah.
And the voice actor made it nicer.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right. 2.
You know what?
Awesome.
I'm very happy with those ratings for a Rocks book.
Rocks book. You haven't, I don't think you've picked bad, but I feel
No,
like we've,
your Night Watching was one of my favorite books that we've read this
yay.
year.
yeah, yeah,
that was a
definitely.
good
Yeah.
book.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Literature on the Rocks. Thanks for listening to our deep dive of Project Hail Mary, and make sure you check out our prompts that are posted on our website now. If you had as much fun as we did, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're here for you every Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. And while you're at it, rate and review us. It helps other book nerds and book lovers find us. Let's be real. We love reading your feedback almost as much as our books. Almost.
And then you can keep the conversation going by following us on our social media at Lit on the Rocks Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and on our website, literatureontherocks.com.
Until next time, may your TBR be long and your cocktails be strong. Cheers!
Toodaloo!
Bye.